I am Diana, and I am a full time housewife. Aside from taking care of my three children, I also take care of my husband, who is paralyzed for 3 years now. He suffered from a heat stroke when he was working as a field engineer. He went unconscious one time when he was on duty because during that day they were in an open field and the heat index was at its peak. Because of this, he collapsed, and while he was standing at the top of a 3-story building, he fell hard to the ground. The commotion sparked, and good thing that he was rushed to the hospital immediately. That was the most devastating day of my life. As soon as I received the phone call, I could feel my body trembling. I couldn't believe what I heard. On top of that, I couldn't fathom what would happen to my husband. What if we lose him? When I received the hospital details, I went there immediately, and to my surprise, my mother in law came earlier than me. She was being hysterical and was panicking so hard. Jessie, calm down. Everything will be okay. My son is in a critical condition, and you're asking me to calm down? Are you insane? She shouted at me. I'm not shocked at all. I am already used to this attitude of hers towards me. If it's not shouting, it's nagging. I don't even give a damn anymore. I admit that there are times that I want to talk back to her, but I just want to be the bigger person and keep my mouth shut instead. My husband was confined for almost 2 weeks. For a week, I was just by his side, tending to all his needs. I insisted on taking care of him, and I wanted to be hands-on because, of course, he is my husband. I must be with him in times of need. However, in the second week, my mother-in-law insisted that she will be the one in charge. She told me that I should go back to work to save up money for the bills in case he will be staying longer in the hospital. I told her that it is fine with me and that I'm okay not going to work because I have to be present during my husband's recovery. But she was so determined that I must go. The doctor said that he is in a stable condition now. Don't worry, I'll take care of him, so you can go to work tomorrow. It's fine. I have already filed a leave of absence from our boss. He understands my situation. No, you have to. This time around, I was shocked by the way she responded. Why was she so mad? But I'm on a 2-week work leave, so my boss said it's fine. You have to work, so go. I have no choice but to follow her. Maybe she also wanted to have alone time with her son, and perhaps she was genuinely concerned about the finances. I went to the office the next day. I put all my time and energy into my work. My office mates were shocked that I showed up to work today because they all knew the critical condition of my husband. But I told them that I needed to work extra hard for the finances. Hence, my boss was so generous enough to lend me higher pay this month to pay for the hospital bills and everything that would help my husband recover. As we got the results from his many tests, the doctor said that half of his body was going paralyzed. I'm so sorry to tell you this bad news, Mrs. Sanders, but your husband's dramatic fall caused him paralysis on the right side of his body. However, there is still hope for recovery. Oh, thank you so much, doctor. I'm Hans's mother. And I know that you're doing your best to ease his condition. Please do everything that you can. I didn't hear much of the doctor's report, especially on the last part because my mother-in-law interrupted him, but one thing is for sure, my husband is now paralyzed and will be bedridden for all his days. My heart sank. I couldn't believe he had to suffer like this. I don't want to see him in this condition. My mother-in-law demanded that she stay with us because she wants to take care of her son personally while I work. I mean, it is an honest and thoughtful gesture, but I don't want to bother her, especially because she's also getting old. We can afford to hire a personal caregiver, but she kept on asserting that she will take care of him. So, with that, as soon as my husband got discharged, my mother in law instantly moved in with us. And it has been 3 years now since my husband had that terrible accident. We did all the necessary intervention and therapy needed to make him recover fast, but everything was so stagnant. There was no growth whatsoever. I focused on earning money for my family, including my husband's medical expenses. My mother in law was the one that goes with my husband during therapy sessions and medical interventions programs. Whenever they attend one, I always checked up on him after the session, asking her about my husband's improvements and health issues. But she kept on giving me replies like, "Well, same as last time, no progress. There's no improvement. The doctor said that, we must do another session." And on it goes. We always put on the same session for 3 years, and it is impossible that until now there is still no sign of recovery. Is it the doctor's fault, or is my mother in law up to something? I don't want to think ill about her, but I couldn't help it. But as a family, I will not think bad about her. One weekend, I asked my mother in law if I will take the shift in taking care of my husband. As I sat beside him, watching him struggle with his paralysis, my heart ached, and I feel this every passing day. Every day is a battle, and I'm constantly fighting, and it seems like I will never win. I try to talk to him, tell him about my day and everything that held a significant memory for him, because even if he couldn't fully understand me, I would still let him know that he is still special to me, that he is still my husband. I stared at my husband lying on his bed weakly. He couldn't walk or talk at all, and it seemed as if the hope of his recovery was slipping away. During these trying times, my mother-in-law appeared to be the pillar of strength. She was the one holding us together, but deep down, a sense of suspicion started to creep into my mind. It's the natural gut feeling that's telling me that something is not right. There was this one time when I went home earlier than usual. I immediately approached my husband's bedroom to check on him, but right before I could enter, I heard my mother-in-law talking to someone, and if I'm not mistaken, I heard my husband's voice as well. They were talking to each other. So I rushed for the door. I was about to open it, but it was locked. I tried to open it forcefully, holding the knob and knocking on the door, but it took my mother-in-law 2 minutes to finally open it. As soon as I got inside, everything was normal. My husband was lying with a dextrose in his veins, and the place was set perfectly. Nothing changed. "Who are you talking to?" She showed me her phone and rolled her eyes. "My friend, what about it?" I just heaved a sigh and proceeded to tend to my husband. I don't want to deal with her strange behavior anymore. There were moments when my mother-in-law would insist on taking complete control over my husband's care, not allowing me to tend to him or even accompanying him to medical appointments. Her possessiveness and protectiveness raised red flags, and I couldn't shake off the feeling that something was amiss. Something does not sit right with me. "Jesse, I can take care of Hans. I want to be the one to help him with his daily activities. Please, let me take care of my husband." "Diana, I know you mean well, but I've been taking care of Hans for a while now. I know what's best for him." "I understand that you have been helping him, but I just want to be more involved. It's my duty as his wife." My mother-in-law's expression turned cold, and she stepped closer to me, lowering her voice. "You don't understand, Diana. I know what Hans needs. Trust me. I am doing everything in his best interest." My frustration began to bubble up, but I remained composed. "I appreciate your help, but I want to be an active participant in Hans's care. I want to take him to therapy and medical consultations. I want to be there for him." Her eyes narrowed and suspicion was evident from her every word. "Why are you insisting on being involved, Diana? Are you trying to control everything? I'm the one who has been taking care of him, sacrificing my own time and energy. My heart sank. I am hurt by her accusations. Why is she being so rude? This is my husband we are talking about. I am not trying to control anything, Jesse. I just want to support my husband. I love him and I want to be there for him in every possible way. She pushed me away out of frustration. I even hit the ground because of the impact. He is my son, and you are nothing but an outsider, so don't go on telling me who you are and what you want to do because I don't fucking care. He is my husband, and I must have control of everything in decision making and action taking. I am his wife, and I must be consulted for everything that needs to be done for my husband's recovery. But it seems like I am nothing but a display, an outcast. I just remained silent and left her on the spot. She's becoming crazy and possessive of her son. I knew from the start that I couldn't trust her. She doesn't even disclose important medical information to me. Not a single doctor's report was relayed to me because my mother-in-law refuses to give me anything. I knew something was happening behind my back. Hence, one fine Sunday afternoon, driven by my gut instinct, I decided to take matters into my own hands. I discreetly installed a hidden camera in my husband's bedroom, hoping to uncover the truth behind my mother-in-law's strange behavior. I placed the hidden camera during my mother-in-law's mandatory afternoon stroll in the garden with my husband while in a wheelchair. I hid it in a place where they would never notice it. I left it for a week and I anxiously awaited the moment when I could review the footage and unveil the secrets that lay hidden. My mother-in-law took my husband to the hospital for another therapy session. Oh God, I know something is not right about that session. Right after I gave them the money for the session's payment, they immediately left. I insisted on driving them, but as usual, she refused it. And it became an opportunity for me to finally review the recordings. My heart raced with anticipation. As I watched the footage, my world shattered around me. I covered my mouth out of shock. There is no way this is real. I watched the footage intently, and there he was, my supposedly paralyzed husband, walking and talking effortlessly with his mother. My heart started to beat fast. I could feel my entire body trembling and shaking nervously. Of all the lies? I didn't expect this. Of all the people? It has to be my husband? They were acting as if everything was normal whenever I was away. The shock and disbelief overwhelmed me and tears welled up in my eyes. How could they deceive me like this? Good thing the hidden camera has a mic, and the audio was also recorded. I got to hear their conversations. I don't have the strength to take everything that they were talking about. It hurts me. I listened to their conversation, and every word that came out of their mouth felt like a knife stabbing into my heart. I learned that my husband has been healed since the first 5 months of his therapy, and they made a fool out of me? On top of that, I heard another heartbreaking conversation from them. Did you transfer the money from Diana's account to our secret business account? Of course, my son. I've been doing it regularly. She won't suspect a thing. My husband smirked and chuckled. Excellent. She works so hard, oblivious to our plans. Soon, we'll have everything we want. They have been using my money for their gain, plotting behind my back. This is the most heartbreaking betrayal ever. My husband laughed evilly in the footage. Acting like a helpless victim has paid off well, hasn't it? Diana fell for it, hook, line, and sinker. My mother-in-law smirked, reveling in their deceitful victory. And she thought we were so devoted to her. Little did she know we were plotting our escape all along. Escape? They're stealing my money and mocking my devotion? I won't let them get away with this. I continued to watch, capturing their incriminating conversation on the hidden camera.
Once our secret business takes off, we'll leave Diana with nothing. She'll finally realize she's been a fool.
His mother nodded as their alliance was strengthening with each word. Oh, my son, it's so thrilling to be partners in crime. Our secret will remain hidden, and Diana will pay the price for her naivety. My eyes were filled with tears as the depth of their betrayal became clear. I am determined that they won't take advantage of me any longer. I'll expose their lies and reclaim what's rightfully mine. As the truth unfolded before my eyes, another horrifying realization hit me. The money I had tirelessly earned to pay for my husband's medical expenses had been squandered on their secret venture, and this hurt me the most. They had been using my hard-earned money to build a business right under my nose, while I thought it was going towards my husband's well-being. No wonder how many sessions we have taken. My husband was still not recovering, and this explains why my mother-in-law insisted on taking care of her son and barred me from doing it. I was so determined to gather concrete evidence, I mastered the courage to visit their secret business location because, good thing they mentioned the address in one of their conversations and I jotted it down. So with no further ado, I went to the location and to my surprise, the construction was still ongoing. Armed with my phone, I secretly captured photographs documenting their deceits and betrayal. These pictures would serve as proof of their treachery, but I couldn't stop there. Anger and thirst for justice consumed me. I wanted them to feel the pain and humiliation they had inflicted upon me. And so I meticulously planned my revenge, setting the stage for my upcoming birthday party. Their monstrosity must not prevail. I want everyone to know what they have done. The day arrived and I welcomed my guests, including my husband and mother-in-law, with a smile. Little did they know the storm that was about to be unleashed. I couldn't look at my husband with worry and pity now. He was sitting in that wheelchair with no remorse nor a hint of guilt. I wanted to expose their lies so badly. As the party progressed, I stood at the center and called everybody's attention. Thank you all for being here tonight to celebrate my birthday. It means the world to me. The guests cheered and made a resounding applause, expressing their love and support. Before we continue the festivities, I have a special surprise to share with all of you. My eyes darted towards my husband and his mother, who stood beside each other trying to maintain their composed facade, their fake act. I have been working on something very dear to me, and tonight I want to share it with all of you because I believe that this success is meant to be celebrated with people that hold a special place in my heart, which is all of you. I picked up a large covered frame. I dramatically unveiled the cloth covering it, revealing a picture of my husband and my mother-in-law's secret business. I smiled at everyone excitedly. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you my latest venture. This will be my new business and I'm delighted to invite you all to the grand opening next week. The guests cheered and congratulated me. Meanwhile, the shock on my husband's and mother-in-law's faces were priceless. Their carefully constructed facade crumbling before the eyes of our friends and family. In a fit of rage, my husband stood up from his wheelchair and shouted, "That's mine!" Everyone in the venue gasped. Some were bewildered and shocked by what they saw. My husband, supposedly paralyzed, stood up and yelled his heart out. The guests fell silent with their eyes widened in disbelief. "Oh, Hans, you're mistaken. This is my business. You used all my money, remember? You and your mother, while all this time you were playing games with me? You tricked me that you were paralyzed when all this time you were already healed. And now you've just unveiled your secret." The room erupted with murmurs and whispers. People started connecting the dots, realizing the deception they have all been a part of. Wait, Hans isn't paralyzed?
They've been lying to us this whole time?
My mother-in-law panicked and even attempted to regain control of the situation. It's not what you think. There is an explanation for all of this.
Save your explanation, Jessie. Your lies and deceit have been exposed.
I pulled out a folder from behind the stage, holding up several pictures showcasing the secret business, stolen money, and their collaboration. Look at these pictures, everyone. This is the truth they hid from us. They used my hard-earned money to build this business behind my back. The guests looked at the incriminating evidence. The anger and disappointment were all visible on their faces. I can't believe they took advantage of your trust, Diana. They manipulated all of us. They should be ashamed. My husband was overwhelmed by his anger, completely forgetting his pretense. He started walking, no longer paralyzed. The room fell into complete silence, with shocked expressions on their faces.
It was all her idea. My mother made me do it.
I looked at Hans, my eyes filled with a mix of sadness and anger. I trusted you, Hans. We were supposed to face this challenge together. The guests surround me, offering their support and sympathy. Both my husband and mother-in-law were forced to face the consequences of their actions, pleading for forgiveness as their deceit unraveled in front of everyone. My husband went to his knees and pleaded for mercy, covering his face with tears and guilt. While my mother-in-law stood there not swallowing her pride, she remained arrogant and egotistical. So, at that moment, I reclaimed my power and cut all ties with them. I claimed ownership of the house and the business, and I took control of my life once again. I left them at the venue with no words coming out of my mouth. Enough is enough. I'm done with all their bullshit. Their betrayal had cost them dearly, and they were cast out of my life forever. As I moved forward, liberated from their manipulation and lies, I focused on rebuilding my life and finding happiness. The wounds they inflicted would take time to heal, but I was determined to leave the past behind and embrace a future filled with honesty and authenticity. It was 6 in the morning when I heard a very loud yell from downstairs. "Christy! Christy! Get down here!" I was ironing my husband's clothes when my mother-in-law called me. I was shocked that she was here. She lived in the neighboring town. I wonder what she is up to here. I can feel my hands shaking. Hearing her voice is one thing, but seeing her face to face is another level of nervousness. "I'm coming, Mother." When I went down, she checked the entire house with a smug face. "What kind of a mess is this? You call this a home?" she shouted as she kicked everything her feet stumbled on. "It is perfectly fine." "Fine? My son does not deserve a home like this. Do you even know how to clean properly? You're useless." I was about to answer when she threw a dried flower at me. "What even is that? Is that a flower? You cannot even water it." "Mom, I was busy with work." "I know, but is that an excuse for you not to clean the house? You only have 2 things to do: work and clean. And you cannot even do great in both. Worthless bitch." She snarled at me. I was controlling my emotions, but I could hardly take it anymore. My tears were slowly falling when my husband came down wearing the suit that I ironed. "My love, it's half done." I went close to him and touched his suit. It was not done yet, but he pushed me so hard that I stumbled and scratched my arms on the coffee table behind me. "I'm already late, and you're moving so slowly. You're such a slack-off. You don't get things done around here, idiot." "I'm sorry, your mother called me." "Oh, and now it's my mother's fault?
If you had woken up earlier, my suit could have been ironed on time. My love, you know that I did the midnight shift earlier at the store. I have to work overtime for us to pay this month's rent. Ricky slammed the wall, and it startled me. Enough with your excuses. That's the price you pay for dropping out of college. You don't have a decent job that can provide us. Shh! Don't stress yourself out, son. That bitch is no good for you. Just remember that today's going to be a big day, and sooner you will get out of this hellhole. I did not hear what Anna had said because she was whispering to Ricky as she was calming him. They left me right there and then without any words of goodbye. I heaved a deep sigh. If only you had a job, we would live a comfortable life. But here you are, a jobless, spoiled, and abusive little prick that relies on his wife for money. And if only you didn't have a tolerating and inconsiderate mother, then all of us would live happily with no toxicity. I said. These are the words that I wanted to tell him and his mother straight on their faces. But I don't have the guts. Until now, I can feel my knees shaking. I quickly cleaned the house and left for work. While driving to the office, I remembered my husband's words earlier. I dropped out of college to marry him because he got me pregnant. He hesitated to ask for my hand initially because he wanted an easy life, friends, parties, and lots of trouble. But my mother insisted that we marry each other to save our family's reputation. With that, we got married at the early age of 21. The first few months of our relationship were beautiful, as we were expecting a fantastic baby girl, but I got into a miscarriage. And right there, my husband started to change. And now, 2 years into our marriage, we were not blessed with another baby anymore. Ever since, I was the only one that worked. My husband would stay in the house watching football games and eat his heart out. He also complains most of the time. And more frequently, he hurts me whenever I try to wrestle with him and when I start to prove a point. Because of that, a memory of our worst fight came vividly into my memory. What is wrong with you? Why are you hitting me? You're so useless. I told you to bring me 10 oranges, and you got 2. Are you that dumb? You don't know how to count? Ricky, for God's sake, I'm not going to spend $15 for ripe oranges. You know damn well how we struggle to make ends meet. We are 2 months due with our rent, and you're asking me to buy oranges? And just because I was thinking about our expenses, you are starting to get angry with me? He grabbed my hair and dropped me into the floor. He smashed the things on the table beside him. You have no right to disobey me. I'm your husband and you follow me. He kicked me and left me on the floor, struggling in pain. I did not realize I had already entered the office, and my coworker snapped me back into reality. Hey, Christy, are you fine? You're zoning out. Yes, I'm fine. What happened to your arm? Did he hurt you again? I was shocked by her comment. No, I accidentally slipped on the floor and hit my arm on a table. I'm fine, don't worry. I denied her allegations. I know Yuka is related to my husband. This is not the first time she called me about this issue. Look, Chrissy. She went close to me and held my hand. Your husband is abusing you. You don't deserve this kind of treatment. You have to take action. No, Yuka, he is my husband, and I don't have to leave him. I cannot imagine the scandal that my family will receive once I leave him." Yuka sighed, a sign that she could not do anything. I ignored her and started working diligently. Night came, and I immediately went home. I decided to skip my overtime job tonight because I want to prepare a meal for my mother-in-law before she says hurtful things. As I came home, I saw my mother-in-law sitting on the sofa reading a book. She seems so calm and surprisingly happy. "Good evening, Mom. Where is Ricky?" "From now on, you will stop looking for Ricky, and you will not call me Mom anymore." I was confused by her response. "Oh, well, what do you mean?" She did not answer immediately. She fished something out of her bag, a white envelope. She threw it in my face, and the contents fell on the floor. Money. I was dumbfounded by what was happening. "There, that's for your troubles." I stared down at the money on the floor. I kneeled and collected all the money to return it to the envelope. What is the meaning of all of this? I was shocked when she grabbed my chin in a very forceful manner. It is painful. She lifted my chin and locked her sight into mine. "Take this money and leave my son alone. He is to marry a wealthy girl, the daughter of a politician, a complete opposite of a worthless twat like you. Now take this money and I'll file the divorce papers or disappear in our lives and forget that the wedding happened." I stared back at her. "I will not do that." She chuckled. "Oh, really? You are that in love with my son, huh? Well, sorry to burst your bubble. My son loathes you. You're the reason why he is trapped in your stupid, boring life. You lured him into this prison." In every word she says, she grips harder, making it more painful every second. "That is not true. You're just clouding his judgments. I did everything to provide for this family." "And now I'm the bad guy? Ha ha ha. You're so funny and pathetic. Of course, you must provide because you dragged my son into this. No matter what it takes, Rick will marry that girl he met at the party. He deserves to be with the wealthiest and most influential people in town. He does not deserve a girl like you. You can go back to your lowly life at the farm and be with your loser mother." She slapped me so hard in the face that I almost lost consciousness. Before she could even get out of the house, I approached her. "Don't ever talk to my mother that way." She laughed and looked at me from head to toe. "Look at you. You're a complete mess, just like your mother. I remember how she begs for my son to marry you to save your reputation. But in fact, it had already been ruined by you. You are just like your mother, dumb horse." I can feel my hands shaking. I was about to slap her when she caught my hands. "And now you're going to hit me? You're so pathetic. I will sue you if you even try to lay a hand on me." "You are the one who deserves to be sued." "I will never let you get away from insulting my mother and abusing me." "Oh, so you are brave now, huh?" She pushed me and fell right into the floor again. "Be thankful, because Ricky's new wife is very generous to give you that sum of money as compensation for your troubles and a token of gratitude for giving her your husband. Just stay away from our lives." I couldn't think straight anymore. "I'm angry and in so much pain. Please, let me talk to Ricky." She shut the door so loud. I was panicking. I immediately called my husband, but he was not picking up. I tried many times to contact him in all his accounts, but he's not answering. I also discovered that he had withdrawn all the money I had saved in my bank account. I almost collapsed crying as I saw the zero balance on my account. This is so unfair. They left me with nothing. That night, I got drunk on alcohol. I know Ricky's abuses and hatred toward me, but we were happy, or we used to be. He got worse by the time we lost our daughter. I still remember how he cared for, talked, and touched me with love and compassion. But now, it is all gone. I sent my mother a text message stating everything that had happened, and by morning she found me on my bedroom floor. "Christy, oh my God, what happened to you?" She helped me get up and put me into bed. I started crying as I saw my aging mom clean me with a warm towel. My heart aches for her. She only wants the best for me, and I only gave her problems. I remember my mother-in-law's statement toward her, and it breaks me even more. "Mom, I'm so sorry." "Hush now. It is not your fault." "It is." My voice is cracking in every word that I say. "Don't worry. You are fine now. Mommy is here. I will never leave you." She caressed my face and I saw tears forming in her eyes. I closed my eyes and felt her warm touch in my skin. My mother is the best thing in the world, and to hear someone else call her those things, it angers me. My mom said those words in the most comforting way. That day, she took care of me. She cooked me my favorite food and stayed with me until a realization came to my mind. "Mom, I think I know where they went." My mother looked at me in confusion. "What do you mean?" "I think they went to Uncle Greg's party." I saw my mother's eyes widened. Uncle Greg is my rich uncle. He owns a housing company, and he is my mother's older brother. The two of them grew apart when my mother decided to marry my father, a mere farmer. My uncle has no wife nor any children. Are you sure?" "Yes, I think I heard someone talk about it in my office, but I pay it no mind." And then my gut feeling hit me. I quickly went to my husband's things and I saw a copy of the invitation. It has my name on it. It was meant for me. I let my mom see it and she gaped. "Your uncle still remembers us." I opened the invitation and there was a note on it. "I cannot wait to meet you, Christy, my beloved niece and heir. Please bring your mother, my dearest sister. I longed for her every day." I went down to my feet out of disbelief. Heir? My mother was in complete shock. "Greg is going to make you his heir?" "The invitation. They tried to hide it from me. Anna and Ricky tried to sabotage me. They went to the party that was meant for me?" Enough of that now. Let's put matters into our own hands. Mom immediately called the number on the invitation. She introduced herself as Uncle Greg's sister, and to our surprise, the staff's happiness can be felt over the phone. "We were waiting for you to reach us out, Madam Leticia. We will be sending an envoy to your place right now." My heart almost stopped. I could not believe all of this. My mother was crying so hard. I thought Greg had forgotten about me already. It was about 23 years since the last time he talked to me. I want him to meet your father, but he is gone now. The next thing I knew was that a car pulled up in our driveway. We went with it and it brought us to my uncle's place. As we went inside, my mother broke down in tears as my uncle ran towards her and hugged her so tight. Both of them cried in each other's arms, and when he saw me, he hugged and kissed me on the forehead. I am so sorry it took me this long to find the both of you. You were never late, Greg. From now on, you will stay here with me. We're family and we are meant to be together. On that day, my life changed as well as my mother. We stayed at my uncle's house and he provided for us. He sent me back to school the next week and my mom managed the company with him. A month has passed and I grew to love my comfortable life. There are times that I would think about Ricky. There was a knock on my door and it made me come back to reality. Come in. Hello, Miss Christie. Your mother wants me to bring you a cup of coffee. Thank you, Dorothy. I smiled at one of my uncle's maids. She moved closer to me, and before she left, she took a quick glimpse at my laptop as if she had other business on me. If you don't mind me asking, Miss Christie, do you have a husband? I slightly chuckled at her statement. Yes, I had. But he left me. I responded in the most gentle way. I see. Men are cruel. They don't know how much their actions hurt us. But you do look familiar to me, ma'am. I think I saw you somewhere. Maybe. I do a lot of work. Perhaps you have seen me in one of my jobs? She nodded and smiled at me. I shall leave then. I must be disturbing you, Miss Christie. Thank you. I smiled back at her. As soon as she got out, I received a text message from the person that I hate the most, my mother-in-law. Ricky is filing the divorce papers now. We will send in the money for you to somehow afford a lawyer. His new wife will finance the proceeding. Be grateful and do your job, and for the record, do something useful for us. My heart was pierced. I heaved a sigh and remembered the good things that came after Ricky left me. Maybe it was meant to happen. I did not respond to her texts and just let her be. Dinner came and I could sense my uncle's uneasiness. Is there something wrong, Greg? The company lost funds today from an unknown user. Someone must have gone inside our account and stole the money. Good thing I already have it covered and experts are starting to track down the culprit. A glass fell to the floor and broke. I saw Dorothy swiftly pick up the shards. I'm so sorry. I'll clean this immediately. I can sense the nervousness in her voice. I feel bad for her. The next day, I received another message from my mother-in-law. Stupid girl, meet us at Piet's restaurant. You're going to sign these papers now. If you won't show yourself, I will do everything to ruin your life. I have no choice but to meet them. As I was about to leave, I remembered Dorothy. I pity her last night, and I want to give her something. Some cash so that she can give herself a break. I looked for her, but the other maid said she went out for lunch with friends. Maybe I'll treat her tomorrow then, I whispered to myself. With that, I headed to the restaurant. The moment I saw my mother-in-law and even just my husband's back profile, I was already shaking. Also, a familiar silhouette of a girl caught my attention. She is sitting next to Ricky, I went closer to them, and I was in complete shock when I saw the girl's face. I stared at her. And you're finally here? Being late is also one of your worthless traits, isn't it? You have no manners, and you kept us all waiting, especially Madame Dorothy. You have no shame. We're doing you a favor here. We're making your life easier. You have a huge sum of money now, so sit down and sign the damn papers, or I'll sue. It's you? I interrupted my mother-in-law's speech. I gave Dorothy a blank stare, ignoring my mother-in-law and husband. How dare you interrupt me? You're the one who steals our company's money? And for the record, you're the one who stole my husband? I could not control my temper anymore, and I shouted at her. My mother-in-law got up and slapped me in the face. Have you lost your mind? How do you yell at Madame Dorothy and disrespect her? And what company are you talking about? You're talking nonsense, you poor brat. I slammed the table and got up. The next time you lay a hand on me, you'll be in jail. The girl right here is my uncle's maid, and she stole his money so that she can pose as a rich young girl when in fact she is actually serving me. I'm the heir of my uncle's company, and now I can even buy this restaurant right here and then. You're the one who is disrespecting me. The three of you, and I will never let anyone fool me, nor my family. I had enough. Ricky was shocked. You're not rich? I'm sorry. Please do not leave me. Please, Miss Christie, I'll give back all the money I stole. This is not true. The three of them were starting to panic as I tried to call the authorities. I will turn the three of you to the police. I have both evidence. You slapped me in the face, and all of these people here are witnesses. It will fortify your abuses to me. And you, Dorothy, you have already confessed, and you will be convicted as a theft. My mother-in-law fell to her knees and begged for mercy. My husband came to me and tried to hold my hands, but I shrugged him off. The two of you treated me like I was so low, like I was nothing but a dumb and worthless girl. Now it's time for the both of you to learn your lessons the hard way. Dorothy also cried her eyes out until the authorities came and arrested the three of them. My mother and uncle came inside the restaurant and rushed toward me. My uncle will take over the legal actions. He assured us that justice will be served for all the mistreatments that they gave us. And on that day, my mother-in-law, husband, and maid cried for mercy, but it was silenced by the loudness of their mistakes.
I wiped my tears as my hands trembled. I tried to compose myself while breathing slowly. I secretly get up because I don't want my raging husband to notice me again. But as I got up, I could feel my knees soaring from my husband's beating. He got angry over the pettiest thing. I wasn't able to answer his question because I was busy with my laptop doing my work report. He couldn't control his anger issues because he thought that I was ignoring him on purpose. That's why he fumed in anger. He almost hit my laptop, but he punched me instead. From the impact of his punch, I collapsed to the ground, and he even kicked my knees whenever I tried to reason with him. It has always been like this. Just in the slightest mistake, he would go mad. There were many times that I attempted to end our marriage, but he would threaten me every time. What's harder is that we are living with his mother, my mother-in-law, and she is fully aware of the abusive behavior of her son, but yet she doesn't care. She never barged in and tried to stop her son whenever he was about to hit me. She even verbally abused me every chance she got. But I know that two of them are wearing two faces because whenever my parents and grandparents came to visit us, they would act good and kind to me. And of course, they would blackmail and debrief me ahead of time that I should act normal, and if I throw them under the bus, they would seriously ruin my life. As if they can. My family is very influential. My grandparents on the mother's side have a generational wealth that dates back to the 60s. My mother's kin are well-known artists and musicians and are honored in the entire country. In short, they are rich and famous. They never wanted me to marry my husband James because, aside from being born from a different social class than us, he has a record of being mischievous. But we fell in love with each other in college, and here we are, married for almost 5 years. As the firstborn grandchild, it is expected that I will carry the family's legacy soon. The weight of my inheritance had me almost suffocating, but I had learned to carry heavy burdens. But so much for that, let me introduce myself. I am Emma, and I am trapped in a nightmare of an abusive marriage. My life has been in a hellhole from the day I said I do on the altar. How I wish I listened to my parents when they said that I shouldn't be marrying my husband, but he was so good back then. No sign of evilness could be seen in his whole existence, and I could say that I was deceived. James, my husband, is a master of manipulation, and his mother, Rita, pulled the strings from behind the scenes. I am certain of this. Both of them work together to abuse me even if I have done nothing wrong. They would constantly say that they were scammed into marrying me because I thought we would be rich once my son married you, but I was wrong.
That's what I thought so too, Mother Tusk. Marrying her was the biggest mistake of my life.
My husband said those words while looking straight into my eyes. I know they meant to use me for money, and I was nothing more than a pawn in their twisted game. From the early days of our marriage, James revealed his true colors. He would fly into uncontrollable rages over the slightest things, berating me with demeaning insults. Rita, his mother, always had a way of justifying his behavior, enabling his abuse and reinforcing his power over me. It is as if they are working as a team. They draw satisfaction in taunting and condemning me. It's not only physical abuse that they kept on poking at me, but also verbal abuse. Words like worthless, bitch, useless, ugly, and boring were some of the words that were already engraved in my mind. They often shout these words daily, and look at me right now, already immune to their cruelty and harshness. I recalled one particular evening when James's anger boiled over. I had accidentally spilled a glass of water on the carpet, and his reaction was nothing short of monstrous. He grabbed me by the arm and yanked me towards him, his face twisted with rage.
Are you out of your mind, or are you just pure dumb and stupid?
Please, it was an accident. The pain shot through my body as his grip tightened, leaving bruises that I would have to hide.
There will be no accident if only you were mindful of your actions. You only have one job.
He held my head and pushed it to the ground, directing it to the carpet.
You see that? You made that mess. All you do is make a mess out of everything. Oh well, because you're a mess yourself.
Please, James, it hurts.
Do you think I care? Well, fuck that, because I don't.
He let go of me and I was pushed down the soaking carpet, and my face was wet. I got up immediately, but as I tried to retreat, Rita intervened, her voice dripping with disdain. You're lucky to have him. Lucky? In what dimension do being lucky and having a relationship with James have in common? You always give my son a hard time and even a headache. You are not good for him. She sneered at me. Her words like venomous daggers aimed at my already fragile spirit. Of course, James, her precious boy, always came first. Oh, I just want to end everything. One day, as I was sitting in our backyard, I received a phone call from an unknown user. I was so surprised because I don't usually give off my phone number to random people, so I answered it. Hello?
Emma, this is Mr. Spencer, your grandfather's lawyer. I'm sorry to inform you that your grandfather has passed away.
I almost dropped my phone as I heard the news. My eyes welled up with tears and my voice trembled. Are you certain? I can't believe it. How did this happen? Shared memories of me and my grandfather came flashing back into my mind. The happy times and even the sad moments when I have to move out of the house because I chose to marry this monstrous husband of mine. I couldn't believe he was gone. Last month, he just visited me here in our house and was generous enough to lend me money for renovation. My ungrateful husband and mother-in-law kept on bragging about it to other people, telling them it was their money. There was a car accident. It was sudden and unexpected. I understand this is a difficult time for you, but I need to meet with you as soon as possible to discuss the details of your inheritance. As my eyes welled up out of disbelief, I remembered the wealth that I'm about to inherit. I know all along that someday I'm going to take over my grandfather's legacy and money. Yes, of course. I will be at your office tomorrow morning. As much as I don't want to discuss inheritance during these trying times, it is necessary and urgent to have the inheritance transferred to me immediately because it is in my grandfather's will.
That's fine, Emma. Take your time. We can arrange everything when you're ready. But there is something that you need to know. That's why I'm insisting our meeting be urgent. I know you still have to mourn for your loss, but if only you can spare a little of your time, please do.
And yes, I agreed with him. I don't know what we are going to talk about, but I know that is very important, and I don't want to waste time. We exchanged a few more pleasantries before hanging up. I took a deep breath, trying to process the news. As I gazed into the distance, a flicker of determination replaced my initial sorrow. I never expected this, but maybe, just maybe, this is my chance to change everything. The facade of my submissive role in this wretched household began to crumble after my inheritance. The news of my grandfather's passing reached my husband and mother-in-law. They were so shocked, even if they were faking it, at least I could sense the genuineness. They planned on sending flowers and visiting for the funeral service. I didn't listen to their conversation because I was busy packing, and for all I know, all of it is just an act, as if they truly care. They're only after my inheritance. James and Rita sensed the opportunity to exploit my newfound wealth, and I wasn't wrong at all. Suddenly, their treatment towards me underwent an alarming transformation. They showered me with fake affection, attempting to mask their true intentions. When we were at my grandfather's wake, they talked to my family with real concern about me. My mother-in-law told them how much she values me as her daughter-in-law, and that she was so grateful that her son married me. Oh God, save me from all this fakeness. My husband even tried to do skinship with me. He kept on holding my hand and wrapping his arms around my shoulders, showing my family how close and loving we are, but my reactions and body languages say otherwise. Oh, I just want to get out of this hellhole. And I wasn't fooled. Beneath their feigned kindness, I sensed their greed and manipulation. Their sudden change only served to confirm my suspicions that they were only after my money. Just like the vultures circling their prey, I became determined to uncover the truth to expose their vile scheme.
The next morning, my grandfather was still laid at the funeral house, but I took the time to talk to his lawyer.
As soon as I came to the lawyer's office, he sat down with me and directly told me the truth.
Emma, I need to discuss something important with you regarding your inheritance. Your grandfather left behind a letter specifically addressed to you.
My eyes widened with anticipation, my hands gripping the edge of the chair. What does the letter say, Mr. Spencer? Mr. Spencer retrieved a sealed envelope from his desk and handed it to me.
Your grandfather suspected something wasn't right about your marriage. He had his doubts and decided to investigate further.
My heart pounded in my chest like crazy as I carefully opened the envelope, revealing a handwritten letter inside. My eyes started to form tears as I saw my grandfather's handwriting. He has always been so effortful in showing that he cared for me. I read it silently and my face transitioned from confusion to shock. This can't be true.
I'm afraid it is, Emma. Your grandfather discovered evidence that your marriage to James was forged, a ploy to gain access to your inheritance. He wanted to protect you even in his grave.
And finally, my tears welled up down my cheeks. A mix of heartbreak and anger. My voice cracked as I held back my tears from falling. I never imagined. I thought James loved me, even before our marriage. I know he changed the moment we tied the knot, but I thought his intentions were real and pure when he was still courting me. And Rita, his mother, they both seemed so genuine back then, but this explains why they hated me so much and they hurt me physically and verbally.
I understand this is difficult to accept, Emma, but your grandfather wanted you to know the truth and use the money to escape that trap. But wait a minute, are they mistreating you?
Mr. Spencer's tone was full of disbelief. I took a deep breath and nodded. I wiped away my tears. Yes, they do, but I know karma will soon come for them. But anyway, thank you, Mr. Spencer. I won't let their deceit define my life anymore. I will gather evidence and fight back.
I admire your strength, Emma. I will do everything in my power to support you legally. We will hold them accountable for their actions.
I stood up, my posture straightening with newfound courage. I won't let them win. I will protect myself and my grandfather's legacy. They will pay for what they have done. Mr. Spencer nodded with a sense of admiration in his eyes.
You have my full support, Emma. We will ensure that justice prevails.
I left his office. My resolve is firm and my steps were filled with purpose. I am determined to uncover the truth, gather evidence against James and Rita, and reclaim my life from the web of deceit. The next day, my grandfather was finally put to rest, and in 30 days, all his inheritance will be transferred to my name and rights. But as soon as I went home, I couldn't still escape the continued physical abuse at James's hand. He kept on tormenting me about my inheritance, asking, where is it and why am I not giving him any? I kept on telling him that I don't have it yet, but he slapped me instead. On several occasions, his anger would reach such heights that he would lash out at me with violent force. I would bear the brunt of his blows both physically and emotionally. The scars run deep, hidden beneath the layers of makeup and long-sleeved clothing. Even if I have the privilege of having a lawyer now, I still let them do this to me because I am gathering evidence. I secretly recorded his abuses every time I sensed that he was about to hurt me, and whenever I have bruises, I took a picture of it and compiled it. The same goes for my past bruises. And through it all, his mother watched with cold detachment. Her silent approval was fueling James's brutality all this time. She reveled in the control they exerted over me, relishing the power dynamics that kept me trapped in their toxic grip. Determined to break free from this cycle of abuse,
I devised a plan to gather evidence against James and Rita. I had to be discreet, careful not to arouse their suspicions. I sought the help of a private investigator, secretly documenting their conversations and capturing their true intentions on hidden recordings. As I continued my undercover mission, the abuse from James escalated. His once controlled fury turned into a terrifying storm that raged within our home. I would cower in fear as his fists found their mark, the pain radiating through every inch of my body. But with each blow, I grew more resolute. My strength and determination were fueled by the knowledge that freedom was within reach. The day of reckoning finally arrived. Armed with the evidence I had painstakingly collected, I confronted James and Rita. "We need to talk." I stood tall before them, holding a folder of evidence in my hands. James and Rita exchanged uneasy glances, clearly taken aback by my newfound strength. But after a second, they just smirked at me and mocked me for acting so brave. "Enough is enough, James and Rita. I know the truth about our marriage. It was all a sham, a means for you both to get your hands on my inheritance." My husband laughed, mocking me. "What are you talking about, Emma? You're overreacting." I opened the folder in front of them, revealing the fabricated marriage documents. "I have evidence, James. The forged documents, the secret conversations, everything. I can take this to court and expose your lies." My mother-in-law's face went pale as her eyes darted around nervously.
Emma, please, we didn't mean any harm. We just wanted what was best for you." "Best for me? Is this how you define love and care? Through abuse and manipulation? You both thought you could control me, but not anymore. All you think was what's best for the both of you, and that's my inheritance. You don't even care about the pain you've caused me." James's anger flared once again as he stood up harshly and took a step towards me, his face contorted with rage. He gritted his teeth as he reached for my neck, but I stepped back so that he couldn't lay his hands on me. "You think you can threaten us? We have got our ways, Emma. Don't push us too far." Just as James raised his hands once again, ready to strike me, the sounds of sirens pierces the air. My face breaks into a triumphant smile. "Oh, don't worry, James. I have taken precautionary measures. The authorities are on their way." James froze, his anger dissipating, and it is now replaced by fear. His mother clutched onto James's arm as her eyes widened with panic. Oh, it feels so good to see them becoming the underdog now. "Emma, please, don't involve the police. We'll do anything you want. Just give us a chance." My smile faded, my eyes filled with a mix of pity and resolve. "It's too late for your empty promises, Rita. You've shown your true colors for far too long. It's time for the law to intervene. I deserve to have my justice, and I will let the law decide." Moments later, the sound of police sirens grew louder. James and Rita exchanged terrified glances, realizing their fate is already sealed. I stood tall, my voice filled with determination as I addressed them one last time. "This is the end of the line, James and Rita. You will face the consequences of your actions, and I will finally find the freedom and justice I deserve." The police busted through the front door, ready to take control of the situation. James and Rita's faces turned pale further as their hopes of escape faded away. The authorities arrested them and legal proceedings followed. I stood before the court, recounting the horrors I had experienced, from the false marriage to the abuse they did to me. I presented the damning evidence that painted James and Rita as the monsters they truly were. With a swift and just verdict, the judge pounded the gavel, sealing their fate as guilty of the crimes they committed. James and Rita were convicted of their heinous acts. At that moment, a weight lifted from my shoulders, replaced by a newfound sense of liberation and justice. As the courtroom emptied,
I stood there no longer a victim but a survivor. The scars that adorned my bodies were reminders of the battles I had fought and the strength I had summoned. The truth had set me free, breaking the chains of abuse that had bound me for far too long. Embracing my inheritance, I used the wealth to rebuild my life, far away from the shadows of abuse and manipulation. On top of that, I decided to work on myself, to heal and grow. I dedicated myself to advocacy and raising awareness about domestic abuse, determined to break the cycle for others who found themselves trapped in similar situations. And this to me is the greatest revenge against their abuse and manipulation, to be happy and content.
My husband came home drunk for the 5th time this week. Dina, where's my food? I can hear the plates breaking in the kitchen. I'm in bed trying to get up to tend to my husband. My stomach has been acting like crazy since this morning. I heard another tumble from the kitchen table, making me rush toward him. I'm sorry, I'll prepare your food now. I thought you were going to eat out with your workmates. He slammed on the wall the nearest glass his hands could grab. I almost lost my balance by what he did. Even if I go out for dinner, you should still prepare my food. You are so worthless. Go to hell. He went near me and pushed me down. I whimpered in pain. The throbbing ache in my stomach grows prominent. This is all your fault. I don't know what's the meaning of my life anymore. Every day I laid my eyes on you, it reminded me of how unfortunate I am. I have a stupid and useless wife that hasn't done any good. You can't even cook, and you have never given me a child. He walked past me and went straight to our bedroom. I was lying there, enduring the pain from the floor. Fred is always like this. He always reminds me of how stupid and worthless I am in his life. Maybe it is true, because I could not give him the one thing he desires the most, a child. We tried many things, from medical consultations to spiritual advice, but still, we are not yet blessed with a baby. And he always blames me for everything. He told me that I was the problem. I tried to get up and almost slipped again when my lower was reached. I have been experiencing this pain for the past week, and it's been 5 days since my period was delayed. The morning came, and I was preparing my husband's breakfast when the doorbell rang. When I opened the door, it was my husband's co-worker. Good morning, Mrs. Quill. Fred left his phone in my car. I want to return it to him before he comes to the office. I thought he might receive an important call. Thank you for this, Mr. Valdez. I will give this to him. You're welcome. See you around. I heard my husband approaching, and when I looked at him, his eyebrows frowned. Hey, Fred, I bought back your phone. I'll go now. See you at the office. Fred waved back at him as his co-worker went inside his car and drove away. My husband grabbed me, and I was utterly taken aback. What are you thinking? He shouted at me. His grip was tightening around my arm. Fred, it hurts. His eyes widened as he looked at me as if I made a terrible mistake. I saw how you smiled at Pete. Are you two having an affair? He yelled again. What are you talking about? He just bought your phone back. And of course, it's common courtesy to smile back at someone who did something kind. What is wrong with that? He slapped me in the face. I can feel my jaw numbing from the impact. And now you're talking back? If I ever found out something, I would kill you." He threatened me. After that, he let go of me and left the house. He left me there as if I was some dirtbag. I could not hold myself together, and the next thing I knew is that I collapsed. My eyes twitched as I felt a light touching my eyelids. I woke up and saw a doctor beaming a flashlight at me. He stopped what he was doing and smiled at me. "Ah, you're awake now. Don't worry, you're in a stable condition now." I looked around and I realized I was at the hospital. I looked at the bedside and saw my husband. "I'll leave the both of you then. I'll return when you are ready to be discharged, Mrs. Quill." I nodded and looked at my husband. What happened to me?" "You collapsed, and as a concerned husband, I brought you here. It would be best if you were grateful that I still cared for you and rushed you here. It's your fault that I was mad earlier. You were flirting with my workmate." "That's not true. I just received your phone." "Lies. I will not put an end to this notion until I have evidence." My heart is pounding like crazy. Why is he like this? Why is he accusing me of cheating? Fred has always been the jealous type, and when he's jealous, he cannot control himself. I just kept silent, because whenever I talk back, he either gives me a slap or a hurtful statement. Hours passed, and the both of us were silent as a ghost. The doctor finally returned and told us I was ready to be discharged. However, before we left the room, he handed us an envelope. "Congratulations, you might want to open that when you get back to your house." I was curious about what was inside, and when we got home, I almost threw the envelope I was holding. Upon seeing the results, I couldn't contain my happiness and yelled out of pure joy, "Yes, I'm pregnant!" It was a test result indicating that I was pregnant. The doctor ran some results when they checked on me while I was unconscious. My husband came rushing to our room and looked at me with irritation. "Can you shut up?" he yelled at me. "Fred, I have good news." I tried to reach out for his hands, but he pushed me back. Maybe this news will change him completely. I gave him the result. My heart is pounding like crazy. This is the moment that we have all been waiting for. After almost 20 years of marriage, Fred and I were never blessed with a child. But now, as I turned 41, a miracle finally happened, and I am now expecting our very first child. He stared at the results for a minute until he dumped it inside the garbage can. My eyes widened in disbelief. Why did you do that?" I quickly got the pregnancy results from the bin and showed it to him. "It says positive. It means that I'm pregnant. Love, we're going to have a baby." I said each word optimistically, but my husband's emotions were the opposite. "Are you sure about that?" I'm so confused by his question. "Of course I am. The doctor handed us this result, saying I'm with a child." He remained emotionless while staring at me. He also stared me down from head to toe. "You should go back to the doctor and get checked," my husband suggested. He was about to leave when I caught his arms. "I don't need to go back to the doctor. The result says it's positive." "Oh, really? Have you lost your mind, woman?" "I haven't lost my mind. This is a dream come true for us." "Oh, do shut up. You're too old to have a child. Your skin is saggy, your body looks like a slouching bear, your hair is turning gray, and your whole existence is deteriorating. If you're fit to have a child, you could have been impregnating right from the start." right at the beginning of our marriage. But here you are 41 years later, pregnant? I can't even prove if that baby is mine." He grabbed the results and slammed them on the floor. He stepped on it and grabbed my hair to shove my face on it. "That's your delusion. It's broken into pieces." He dragged me to the floor and I shouted in pain. I'm not having delusions. I'm genuinely pregnant with our child." "I will not have that child. We tried everything we could, remember? Then how come it took this long for you to bear one? You're even too old to have one. Maybe you cheated on me and got yourself pregnant? You're a whore." I was shocked by this statement. I thought his notions about the cheating agenda were out of pure jealousy, but now he's accusing me of having a child with another man? You can't even imagine how hard it is for me to endure all the frustrations you have thrown at me. Do you think I never wanted a child? Do you think I'm happy to wake up every day and be childless? I waited for this day to happen, and now you're accusing me of having an affair? With who? I couldn't contain my emotions any longer. I sobbed while I said those words to him. "With Pete? Oh, I saw you smiling at him earlier. I bet both of you already knew about it." I was too weak on my knees, and I fell to the floor. I couldn't fathom the things that he was saying. None of it was even true. I was having panic attacks because he insisted that the baby was not his. I could not imagine myself being with another man. Even though he mistreats me, I could not bear to be unfaithful. I remained by his side no matter the circumstances. I thought he would be delighted to have a child finally. We have been waiting for this for so long, and the time has finally come. But look at him now, disowning it? He kneeled to my level and held my chin. He looked at me right into my soul. "This is not my child." He shoved me down the floor and left me there. I cried my heart out while holding my baby bump. This was the first time I knew about my baby's existence, and I didn't want to feel this way. I thought we were going to be happy. I begged him not to leave me, but he shut our bedroom door, and from then on, he was gone. My husband left us. My baby and I were all alone. My aunt came to my rescue and she lived with me until I gave birth to my daughter. During the 9 months of pregnancy, I never heard a word from my husband aside from him spreading rumors about me cheating. He even dragged his co-worker into his stories, costing them their friendship. But it was nothing for him, just as how nothing he feels for us. The day of my delivery came. I gave birth to a healthy baby girl. The medical staff told me it was a miracle that I could still have a child this late without having any prior. I hugged my baby so tight. She was a beauty. Her beautiful features are evident even though she's still so young. And in fact, she had Fred's nose. I will call you Miracle. My aunt hugged us. Do not worry, Dina. I will never leave you both. 13 years have passed, and I was living a good life with my daughter. My aunt also helped us tremendously when it came to finances. I worked as an office clerk and an international tutor at night. I hustled hard for my daughter to give her a bright future. Miracle grew up to be a loving, charming, obedient, and beautiful daughter. She's the greatest gift that I ever had. Despite the hardship, I'm grateful that we are together. I heard that my husband is living his best life as a chief engineer, and I was so shocked that until now, he never filed for divorce when he could. One day, we were having dinner. My aunt came home late, but she brought with her exciting news. Dina, miracle, I have good news. What is it? She handed me a brochure and showed me something on her phone. It's a casting audition for new actresses in a high-budgeted movie, and Miracle just checked all the qualifications. My eyes widened when my daughter fitted the role they sought. Tall, beautiful, with long black hair, a good singing voice, and a charming personality. I turned to Miracle. My love, do you want to audition? My daughter smiled so widely and looked at me with pure joy. Yes, mother, I would love to. The next day, we went straight to the audition venue. Lots of girls lined up for the role. But I know my baby will make it to the top. The audition took 7 hours, and after that, the casting director announced the people that got the roles. And for the lead role, the talented girl that will embody Princess Thea's character is Miracle. I cheered so loudly that everyone stared at me. I didn't care because my daughter would be a star. Filming started the next day, and I went with my daughter daily. I was so amazed by how good she is at acting and how easy she is to work with. We got lots of compliments from the directors and other veteran actors. Miracle is such a prodigy. The future is bright for her, madam. She's a miracle. An actress said to me. My heart was flattered when I heard her remarks about my daughter. Months passed and the movie premiered. It became a hit, and my daughter's fame skyrocketed overnight. She was praised for her acting skills. Her acting clip on one of the movie's emotional scenes went viral, and people talked about her and her incredible talent. Her influence grew widely, and she amazed me even more when a percentage of her earnings was used to buy a small old engineering company's building that will serve as a home for homeless children. Mom, I am so happy that I could share my talent with the world, and I used it for kindness. I am so proud of you, my little one. You never fail to amaze me. The world is so happy to have been blessed with your talent. I hugged my daughter tightly as we were talking in our living room. She buried her face into my heart, and I want her to know I love her. I looked around and saw how our lives changed in an instant. From the struggles and mistreatment that I endured from my husband to a beautiful life with my daughter. I can genuinely say that I will never trade this for anything in the world. My daughter and I were having fun talking nonsense when I heard a knock on our front door. One of our maids quickly opened the door, and as soon as it opened, loud noises were heard. Sir, you're not allowed inside. This is private property. You have no right. I have every right to step into this house. You're trespassing. As soon as I heard that, I immediately went close to the commotion. What is this all about, Fred? My heart almost stopped pumping when I saw his face. He looked very different. When he saw me, he quickly approached me, but the security stopped him. Sir, you're already crossing the line. Dina, please. He begged, but the security guard is pushing him away, and Fred is trying to escape the security forces. But Miracle came, stood beside me, and Fred stopped moving. He was staring at Miracle, and I can see the tears falling down his cheeks. Miracle held my arms and hid behind me. Fred moved close, and I signaled the guard it was okay. As soon as he reached near us, he kneeled. As he knelt, I remembered the days that I was in his position. I am so sorry. I am sorry for everything I've done to you, my love. I will forever regret all the problematic things that I did. Please forgive me. Please accept me again. He cried and bent his face to the floor. He sobbed as if the world was taken away from him. He looked at me once again and then at our daughter. My child, look at you. You've grown. I saw how amazing you are on TV. As soon as I realized it was you, I couldn't stop crying and thinking about you. I have wasted so much time away from you. I'm so sorry for leaving you. You disowned me. Fred cried a little more after hearing what my daughter said. The regret in his voice was very evident. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. You left us with nothing. You abused Mother as if she was nothing to you. You never claimed me as your child because for you, my life was just nothing. I held my daughter's hand and tried to calm her down. Fred cried and cried. Please help me. I have nowhere else to go. And now you come back to us because you have nothing? Where were you when we were the ones who had nothing? I lost everything. My family, my career, my money, my engineering company. I lost it all. When he said the last thing, I realized something. You owed that engineering company building, did you? I don't owe it anymore. Someone bought it for a bullshit charity. I guessed at what he said. Even at his lowest, he is still a jerk, disrespectful, and rude. I bought it. I bought your company for a bullshit charity. My daughter emphasized the word bullshit. Fred's eyes widened and realized his stupidity. He will never have our forgiveness. If you wish to be forgiven, you must earn it. Learn from your mistakes and try to be a better person. I am glad a man like you never raised me. You have lost the chance and hope of getting your family back, your life back to be exact. After my daughter said it, she went inside. I looked down at Fred, not with pity, but with contentment. That I had released myself from the trauma he gave me and my daughter. You have truly lost it, Fred. Guard, send this man away. Do not let him go near. The security dragged Fred away. And from then on, Miracle and I worked hard to sustain the charity foundation that we started. My daughter became not only famous, but influential. We never saw Fred again, and his forgiveness will never be accepted until he learns how to forgive himself for what he did to us.
So, Allison, what kind of family did you grow up in? I grew up in a single-parent household with my father. And how did your family situation impact your upbringing? We faced challenges, but my father taught me the value of hard work. Alright. What about you? Do you have a family? Well, I'm not sure how relevant this is to the position I'm applying to. I would appreciate it if you were more collaborative. Do you want this job or not? Well, I do have a child. I am a single mom myself, and I have resilience both personally and professionally. Tough for you. Don't individuals from background like yours lack the skills and connection to thrive in a competitive environment? Background shouldn't be a barrier to success. It instills determination. Well, in my experience, those from disadvantaged backgrounds struggle to fit into high-pressure corporate environments. Can you handle the demands of this job? I am more than capable. My background taught me resilience and adaptability. Frankly, I have my doubts. People like you rarely succeed in competitive fields. Excuse me? You heard me. Your background is a liability, not an asset. We're looking for candidates with more advantageous circumstances. That's unfair and discriminatory. My background doesn't define my capabilities. It's just the reality. You should lower your expectations. The job isn't for someone like you. I won't let your prejudice discourage me. I have the skills
and determination to succeed, regardless of my background. Suit yourself, but don't be surprised when you fail. My name is Allison, and at the age of 23, I found myself juggling the roles of a college senior, a single mother, and an ambitious woman in New York City. Life hadn't always been easy for me, especially after my ex-boyfriend Tyler, who turned out nothing to be but a jerk, abandoned me as soon as he discovered I was pregnant. I fled to another city and went to college there. Left to care for our child alone, I knew I had to forge my own path and create a better future for both of us. He had not talked to me for 2 years, but I'd figured I was better off without him. Growing up, I had always admired my father, a highly respected executive at a prestigious bank. His unwavering dedication and success in his career served as an endless inspiration for me. I yearned to follow his footsteps, prove my worth, and achieve similar accomplishments. As I was really close to graduating college, I became laser focused on the goal of securing a job at my father's renowned bank. However, I was determined not to take the easy way out by relying on his influence. I wanted to prove myself based on my own merit and abilities. As I prepared to step into the world of corporate finance, I knew the road ahead would be challenging, but armed with a fierce determination, I marched into the bank with confidence. I decided not to disclose my connection to my father to anyone in the office. I wanted to be judged on my own merit, not on the kind of favoritism. I was determined to display professionalism and dedication that caught the attention of the hiring managers. After weeks, I finally received something that really filled me with a mixture of excitement and hope. It was an invitation for a final job interview at my father's prestigious bank. The prospect of working at the same institution where my father had made his impact felt like an important validation of my hard work. On the day of the interview, I walked into the sleek office building with a sense of purpose. As I sat across from Mrs. Anderson, the interviewer, I couldn't help but notice her piercing gaze. Unexpectedly, she delved into the interview with a series of questions that went beyond my qualifications and experience, probing into my personal life. So, Allison, what kind of family did you grow up in? I grew up in a single-parent household with my father. And how did your family situation impact your upbringing? We faced challenges, but my father taught me the value of hard work. Alright. What about you? Do you have a family? Despite feeling really uneasy about the intrusive nature of her questions, I wanted to answer respectfully. However, the turning point came when Mrs. Anderson didn't seem to notice my uneasiness and continued to direct the conversation in a way that bothered me deeply. Well, I'm not sure how relevant this is to the position I'm applying to. I'd appreciate it if you were more collaborative. Do you want this job or not? Well, I do have a child. I'm a single mom myself, and I have resilience both personally and professionally. Tough for you. Don't individuals from backgrounds like yours lack the skills and connections to thrive in a competitive environment? Background shouldn't be a barrier to success. It instills determination. Well, in my experience, those from disadvantaged backgrounds struggle to fit into high-pressure corporate environments. Can you handle the demands of this job? I am more than capable. My background taught me resilience and adaptability. Frankly, I have my doubts. People like you rarely succeed in competitive fields. Excuse me? You heard me. Your background is a liability, not an asset. We're looking for candidates with more advantageous circumstances. That's unfair and discriminatory.
My background doesn't define my capabilities. It's the reality. You should lower your expectations. This job isn't for someone like you. I won't let your prejudice discourage me. I have the skills and determination to succeed regardless of my background. Suit yourself, but don't be surprised when you fail. Her words hit me like a punch to the gut. I fought to maintain my composure, not letting her see the depth of hurt and humiliation I felt. I understood that remaining professional and respectful was crucial at this point, even though her comment cut me deeply. I held my head high and kept my cool. It was then that a thought occurred to me. It was clear that Mrs. Anderson was not the designated interviewer for my final job assessment. The woman I talked to by email was really nice, and I'm sure Mrs. Anderson might just be a substitute for the day. Refusing to let her prejudice defeat me, I decided to take a bold risk. I requested to speak with Mrs. Anderson's boss. The unexpectedness of my request caught Mrs. Anderson off guard. At that moment, it became evident that I was not as naive and compliant as she had assumed. The tables had turned and the power dynamic shifted. She was forced to get up and call in somebody else. I was quite confused but more relieved than anything. At least now I would have a real chance. As I sat down with the more experienced HR specialist, I was no longer the timid interviewee I was before. I had found my voice and chose to assert myself. Calmly but firmly, I introduced myself again and convinced her to hire me. The HR specialist listened attentively, her demeanor reflecting both understanding and impression. I laid out my aspirations, my qualifications, and my desire to contribute to the bank's success. I went quite well, and I couldn't help but feel Mrs. Anderson would not let me into this company, judging from her toxic behaviors. As I left the interview room, doubts began to creep into my mind. Mrs. Anderson's remark lingered, planting seeds of uncertainty within me. I questioned whether I could truly achieve my dreams of success in an environment that harbored such terrible views. Was this the right place for me to build a career and create a better life for my child? How did my dad even succeed here? Is my future really that gloomy? I found myself filled with conflicting emotions, disappointment, anger, and a sense of betrayal. But deep down, there was still a sense of resilience. I took a moment to gather myself. I had come so far, defying expectations and proving my worth at every step. While Mrs. Anderson's comment had wounded me, it would not define me or my future. I refused to let her narrow-mindedness drag me down. A week later, my persistence and determination were rewarded when I received an email from the bank. I had been offered a job with great compensation. The joy that flooded my heart was immeasurable. I couldn't contain my excitement and took to social media to share the incredible milestone. Posting on both Facebook and Instagram, I celebrated the new chapter in my life with so much excitement. The support and encouragement from friends and family were so meaningful to me. The joy I felt was not just for myself, but for all those who had stood by me throughout my journey. With gratitude in my heart and a renewed sense of purpose, I stepped into this new chapter of my life. The journey was far from over, but I was ready to embrace the challenges and embrace the opportunities that awaited me at the prestigious bank. Just as life seemed to go so well, a message from Tyler disrupted everything. It had been years since we had any contact, and I certainly did not expect him to resurface now, crawling back into my life just like that.
Hey Allison, it's been a while. I hope you're doing well. I've been thinking a lot lately and I miss you. I want to be a part of our child's life. Can we talk and figure things out?
The audacity of his words left me taken aback. How could he expect me to trust him after he had abandoned us when we needed him the most? The wounds he left behind ran deep, and I had built a life for myself and my child without him. Tyler, it's surprising to hear from you after all this time. Our child and I have been building a life without you. I can't simply welcome you back without proof of genuine change and commitment. I hope you understand. But instead of accepting my decision, Tyler's tone shifted and he lashed out, questioning my motives.
Why won't you give me a chance? Is it because you have a good job now? Do you think you're too good for me? Don't forget, we have a history together. I promise I've changed. Please, reconsider.
Tyler, it's not about my job or any sense of superiority. It's about the trust you shattered when you left us behind. You can't expect me to forget the past so easily. I need more than words. For now, it's best if you respect my decision and give us the space we need.
Fine, if that's how you feel. But I promise I'll come to find you again. Our child deserves to have both parents in their lives. I won't give up on us.
Tyler, please respect our boundaries and give us the space we need. The well-being of our child is my priority. Take care. His offensive remark pierced through me, reopening old wounds. I stood my ground, refusing to let his attempts at manipulation undermine the process I had made. But deep down, I was devastated. In the aftermath of our encounter, a mixture of emotions swirled within me. Anger, disappointment, and vulnerability threatened to overshadow my recent triumphs. However, I refused to let Tyler's reappearance affect me. Finally, it came the time for me to go to my office. On the first day, something surprising caught my eye. I saw Tyler driving Mrs. Anderson to work. As they said goodbye, he called her Mom. It hit me all at once why Mrs. Anderson had been so mean to me. She was his mom. She must have hated me and blamed me for keeping the baby, thus making him move to another city. As if things were not bad enough in the office, I found myself working directly under Mrs. Anderson's authority. She continued to treat me with incredible meanness, but I was prepared for it. I made sure to gather evidence of Mrs. Anderson's inappropriate behaviors. I documented instances where she made discriminatory remarks and took unfair actions. Every day in the office was a challenge, dealing with Mrs. Anderson's attitude, but I stayed focused. I knew that gathering evidence was crucial to expose the truth and seek justice. Finally, with all the evidence I had, I decided to confront Mrs. Anderson directly. I asked her why she had been so mean to me, knowing deep down that it had everything to do with her son. I even told her that I was aware of their connection and how it influenced her treatment of me. In response, Mrs. Anderson was meaner than ever. "Oh, so you finally figured it out, did you? Yes, it's because of my son. I told him to leave you and I stand by that decision. You were never good enough for him, and you certainly aren't deserving of a place in this prestigious bank. You thought you could just waltz in here pretending to be someone important? Well, let me tell you something, Allison. You will always be the girl who got knocked up and couldn't keep a man. You're pathetic." With trembling hands, I dialed my dad's number. I had previously warned him about this, and I knew he was just a few steps behind those walls, waiting to come in to help. Mrs. Anderson saw how quiet I was and she thought she was winning. She kept talking. Actually, at this point, she was practically screaming. "You see, Allison, you will always be beneath me. Your aspirations, your dreams, they're all stupid and meaningless. You are nothing more than a burden to this company. I don't know why they even bothered hiring you. It's clear that you don't belong here and you never will. You're just a reminder of your own failures." As Mrs. Anderson's terrible tantrum reached its peak, my dad walked into the scene, witnessing her unprofessional behavior firsthand. The presence of my father, a highly respected executive at the company, shocked Mrs. Anderson. The room fell into an uncomfortable silence.
Without hesitation, my dad took charge of the situation. Mrs. Anderson's employment was terminated almost immediately. The company recognized her misconduct and swiftly took action. She lost her job and her reputation. After that, Tyler once again reached out to me. He had the audacity to ask for money, attempting to shift blame and responsibility onto me for his mother's termination. It became painfully clear that he was nothing more than a mommy's boy, crawling back into my life for financial gain. At that moment, I saw through his manipulative tactics and rejected his request once and for all. I refused to let him exploit me. I recognized the importance of standing up for myself and protecting the well-being of my child. I blocked him out of our life forever and watched as he and his mother struggled to make ends meet. In the aftermath of these events, I held my head high, knowing that I had confronted injustice and fought for what was right. The sense of accomplishment and pursuit of a fulfilling career became my driving force. With resilience and determination, I left behind the toxicity of the past and embraced a brighter, more promising future. I can't wait to build a beautiful life with my child, with the help of my hard-working, loving father. I have had my happy ending after all. What about you? What would you do if you were in my position?